Driver suffers a medical episode before crashing into a tree in the Villages. A sinkhole disrupts traffic near Lake Sumter Landing. Orlando Health wants to build a micro-hospital next door to the Villages. Residents clamoring for change at gates may get their wish. Reckless driver causes multi-vehicle crash at 466 and Rolling Acres Road. Question raised about the competency of suspect in a standoff in the Villages. AAC sets a meeting to discuss the revival of cap on amenity fees. West Palm Beach company buys the home notorious for hoarding. A villager will lose their driver's license after hitting a police car with their golf cart. Villager was sentenced in attack on wife over resort vacation plans. How many holes in one's golf do we get this week? Letters to the editor. This and more coming up. Let's have some more news. Got some updates. Let's try to get them done and get them out of here. A villager had been sentenced after attacking his wife when she brought up resort vacations. You guys remember that story? John Michael Nosen, 68 of the village of Lake Denham, pleaded no contest this past week in Lake County Court to a felony charge of domestic battery and strangulation. He had been placed on probation for 3 years and may not possess a firearm during that time. He will be considered a felon under certain provisions of Florida law. He must also complete a batterer's intervention program. His wife offered a victim impact statement at sentencing. Nosen filed for divorce from his wife in June. That's that update. Update number 2. A villager will lose her driver's license as the result of a golf cart crash in which she struck a police car. You don't want to run into a police car. Lenny Seberger Woodall, 62 of the village of DeLuna, pleaded no contest this past week in Sumter County Court to a charge of driving under the influence. She will lose her driver's license for 6 months and has been placed on probation for 1 year and has been ordered to perform 80 hours of community service. That's her update. Update number 3. You guys remember the hoarding house? I call it the hoarding house. The son was on drugs. Neighbors were complaining about trash all over the front porch and so on and so forth. He finally got arrested, put in jail for drugs and everything. She said her son was trying to kill her so he could inherit the house and then sell it, and then he was going to move to Brazil or someplace. That fiasco. Okay, here's the update on the house. A West Palm Beach company has purchased a home notorious for hoarding in the Villages. Confluence Capital LLC has purchased the home at 1889 Blythewood Loop in the village of Sunset Point, which had been the scourge of the neighborhood. Confluence Capital paid $200,000 for the home, which was originally purchased in 2005 for $238,500 by Barbara Packard and her late husband. The purchase brings an end to the problems at the home under the ownership of the Packards. That's the update on the hoarder's home. Hopefully the neighborhood will finally get some peace over there. Now here's a little bit of an update that's a little different than most updates that I do. This is the update about our Amenity Authority Committee wanting to set in place once again the cap on amenity fees. The Amenity Authority Committee has set a date to discuss a possible restoration of a cap on amenity fees. The meeting will take place on October 30th. Those coping with uncertainty about future finances want to see the cap restored. Many residents believe a promise was broken in 2019 when the AAC, which oversees amenities north of County Road 466, and the Project-Wide Advisory Committee, which oversees amenities south of County Road 466, both agreed to abandon the cap. The cap on amenity fees was a selling point when they purchased their home. Thus far, PWAC has shown no desire to discuss bringing back a cap on amenity fees. As of January 1, the prevailing rate for new homes and resales climbed to $195 per month. Homeowners who remain in their residence are subject to amenity rate hikes in accordance with the Consumer Price Index. Well, there's two sides of this. I generally don't offer any kind of comment on the updates because the updates are what they are. But If you talk to the people that lives in other places in Florida that has amenity fees, can compare what they're paying to what we pay, what amenities do they pay for, and what amenities are we paying for? It's almost overwhelming when you talk to people that live in other communities that what we get for our $200 a month, let's say, is a deal. So I'm not going to argue about it. I like to see a cat myself, but compared to everybody else, we must be getting a pretty good deal. Here's the update on the guy that kidnapped a woman, slapped her around, got in his Mercedes, went to somebody else's house, barricaded himself in that house. The SWAT team had to go get him out of that house. He'd been arrested before for mistreating people and taking advantage of elderly. And as far as I know, he's still in jail. Well, here's the update on him. You'll recognize the picture. A subject in a violent standoff earlier this year in the Villages may not be mentally competent, according to his defense team. This past week in Marion County, a defense attorney representing 55-year-old James Savage filed a motion to determine his client's competency. Savage was arrested March 16th at the conclusion of a 24-hour standoff at 7970 Southeast 174th Bellhaven Loop in the village of Chatham, which is in Marion County. He fled there after allegedly kidnapping a woman from a home in the village of Monarch Grove, which is in Sumter County. He allegedly shoved the woman into a Mercedes, setting in motion a manhunt that ended with a standoff that trashed the home of Lorraine Haru, a widow who had befriended Savage. He has a long criminal history, including a 2020 conviction of exploitation of the elderly involving a woman with dementia. Savage continues to be held without bond at the Marion County Jail. And yes, there's no allegedly kidnapping a woman. I showed video on the news report, a complete video that was taken by her home security camera. And it showed him, shoved her in the car and left her. There was a neighbor lady there. I think she was trying to help a little bit, but she just wasn't aggressive enough, in my humble opinion. Let's get on with some more news. A reckless driver was ticketed after causing a multi-vehicle crash Wednesday evening on County Road 466 and Rolling Acres Road. Be careful on that intersection right there. There's a lot of accidents that happens there. It's crazy nuts there. The woman was westbound on County Road 466 at 6:34 p.m. when her four-door blue sedan entered the left lane where traffic was backed up at the light, according to the accident report of Lady Lake Police Department. Her vehicle struck a second vehicle which was merging into the left lane. The force of the collision pushed the vehicle that had been merging into the third vehicle, which was in the center of the lane of traffic. You following me so far? The woman who had been driving the blue four-door suffered a large lump on her forehead and complained of head pain. She was transported by ambulance to UF Health Spanish Plains Hospital. An officer went to the hospital and issued the woman a ticket for reckless driving. The driver of the vehicle that had been struck while merging into the left lane complained of neck and back injuries and also was transported to UF Health Spanish Plains Hospital. Anybody smell a lawsuit here? A villager has been arrested in an alleged attack on his wife of 36 years. Officers responded at about 1 a.m. Sunday to a home in the village of Newell after a 911 call was received from the wife of 57-year-old Robert Panic, according to the arrest report of Leesburg Police Department. After entering the home, officers found that it was in disarray, with furniture and glass scattered throughout. Panic's wife also has dried blood on her shirt and her pants. She claimed her husband struck her, causing her to fall and hit her head on the tile. She had a 1-inch knot on the side of her head. Panic had fled prior to the arrival of law enforcement. People made multiple attempts to contact the New Jersey native's cell phone. He eventually responded and said he and his wife had been arguing all day. Panic, who stands 6 feet 3 inches tall, weighs 235 pounds, said during their argument his wife stumbled and fell and hit her head on the tile floor. He later revised his statement. I grabbed her shirt and asked her to stop, he said. He claimed she began yelling at him. He admitted he made a defensive move and pushed his wife. He was arrested on a charge of battery. He was booked at the Lake County Jail and released after posting a $1,000 bond. Residents clamoring for a change at the gates of the villages may finally get their wish. Villagers have long complained about having to roll down their windows to swipe their gate cards to enter through resident gates. Some residents have complained about burning out the motors in their power windows due to frequent trips through the gates. Many residents have wanted, wished, and waited for a SunPass-style windshield strip or other device that would automatically raise the gate arm for residents upon their approach. The village's District Gov has been beta testing 3 different long-distance readers that could make that desire a reality. Once the testing is complete, the final information will be presented to the Amenity Authority Committee and the Project-Wide Advisory Committee, which would have the authority to install and pay for such equipment. Upon installation, residents would have the option to purchase such a device, which could be a key fob or a mirror magnet. These would be optional and would require a fee. Gate cards would still open the gates. Eventually, the district could be moving to encrypted gate cards, which would make cloned cards unusable. It could also require the replacement of all resident gate cards. However, district officials said that is not likely to happen this year. A couple of comments I want to make. One is, you're not burning out your motor in your car because of the gate arms. I don't believe that at all. I think somebody just made that up. Second thing is, the idea of having some system where the gate will open upon approaching the gate, I got no problem with that. How much is it going to cost to install this system into the gate arm? I'm not talking about the cost of what they're going to charge us to have this thing to go in our car, but they got to install stuff in every one of these gate arms that can read that, and that's the part that I'm leery of. What's that going to cost us? And is there maintenance? Our maintenance fee have to rise to maintain these things. A little bit, I don't mind, but here's the thing. If you can do that at every gate in the villages, which the villages is massive, I don't even know how many gates we have. Why can't you do that at our swimming pools to be able to get in and out of our swimming pools and places like that where people are saying people are just walking in and out that don't live here? I just don't understand. What's the priority of the gate, but not the priority at a pool that we pay for? Well, we've been losing a lot of restaurants in the villages, especially around Spanish Springs area. And I don't know what's going on with these restaurants, unless because of the economy, people just don't go out because they have to save the money they got and use it for other things. That's a possibility. I don't know that. But it's not affecting just us. Here's from our next door neighbor over there from Stonecrest. The Cheers restaurant will be closing its doors later this month at Stonecrest. The management of the restaurant, located in the 55-plus retirement community in Summerfield, has announced that August 14th will be its last day of operation. The restaurant at the Stonecrest Country Club has done its best to keep things moving in the right direction with live entertainment, trivia nights, karaoke, and cooking demos. But in an increasingly difficult environment for restaurants, the ownership has announced its run has reached its end. In recent months, 3 restaurants closed at Spanish Springs Town Square: the Villages Gators Dockside, World of Beer, Margarita Republic. Other recent restaurant closures in the Villages have included Red Lobster, Sonny's Grill Pit Barbecue, and there's going to be some more. I've kind of heard through the pipeline. So it must not just be the Villages problem. This is a problem everywhere. Orlando Health plans to build the 30-bed Wildwood Micro Hospital on the west side of US 301, about 1 mile south of the Florida Turnpike. That should take it down pretty close to Finney area, right? Special Magistrate Lindsay C.T. Holt recommended approval of the comprehensive plan amendment and rezoning for industrial to commercial for the purpose of the hospital site at a meeting Tuesday of the Wildwood Planning and Zoning Board. The City Commission likely will consider both recommendations later this month. The project, which includes commercial development, also will require approval of a special exemption permit to allow a hospital on land with commercial zoning. Plans call for building the micro hospital in 2 phases. The first phase of 33,000 square foot would include 8 beds, treatment rooms, and labs. The second 37,000 square foot phase would include 22 beds. Development will be focused on the eastern end of the property, and plans include commercial buildings and offices. The 44-acre property is near the western end of Marsh Bend Trail and the village of DeLuna. And if you look back here, you can kind of see, if you know any of the roads around here, that little dotted area, right, that's where the hospital is going to go. And if you know anything about Megason Road and Warm Springs Avenue and all that, I mean, that's where it's going to go if you guys are kind of familiar with the roads down there. City water is available for a line running along 301, but wastewater service is not available. The city plans an extension in the future. More than 8 acres of the site are wetlands, and Holt said a gopher tour to survey will be needed. Wastewater capacity and development agreements are also required. Micro-hospitals are a relatively new trend in the healthcare industry and have been established in Colorado, Nevada, Texas, and Arizona. Nudix Health of Houston, Texas, announced last year that it was building a micro-hospital in Claremont. The company also has proposed micro-hospitals in Jacksonville, Odessa, and Miami. I think it'd be a good fit. As you know, we're in our wet season right now. When is our wet season? It's exactly the same time our hurricane season is. So it's from, I think, June through November. And that's when sinkholes pop up. A lot of rain. A 3-foot wide sinkhole disrupted traffic Tuesday afternoon after opening up in the southbound lane of Morse Boulevard near the exit to Lake Sumter Landing. The hole in the pavement initially appeared to be about 3 feet in diameter and 3 feet in depth. The sound of rushing water could be heard coming from the hole. The curb next to the hole appeared to be undetermined, and the ground next to the curb had sunk down. Red flags were placed to outline the sunken area about 10 feet south of the sinkhole. Workers had also flagged an area where the underground had subsided. The Sumter County Public Works Department employee indicated that the collapsed roadway was near a junction box, and it appeared that a leak in the junction box may have allowed water to undermine the pavement. He said that the repair work would begin Wednesday and should be completed by this weekend. It is highly likely that the formation of the sinkhole was triggered by a heavy rainfall dumped on the villages by Tropical Storm Debbie. A lot of these so-called sinkholes we have, and I guess that's technically the legal determination of it, but it's really not from typical things that cause a sinkhole. It's usually water leaking from a ground pipe, or in this case, it looked like water somehow got in through the electrical line there. It washes the sand away, and then the road, everything above it, starts to collapse. A driver suffered a medical episode before crashing into a tree in the Villages. A driver had been northbound at 10:30 a.m. Sunday on Morse Boulevard approaching County Road 466 near the hacienda of Mission Hills, where he suffered a medical episode according to the Sumter County Sheriff's Office. His vehicle struck a palm tree in the center of the median. The driver was transported by ambulance from the Village's Public Safety Department to UF Health Spanish Plains Hospital. This happens here, I won't say a lot, but it's fairly frequent. The bankruptcy of the World of Beer chain is bringing more uncertainty to the restaurant scene in the Villages. World of Beer Bar and Kitchen, which is based in Tampa, has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. The company reported assets of $10 million to $50 million, liabilities of $10 million to $50 million, and 49 or fewer creditors. The World of Beer restaurant remains open at Brownwood Patty Square. World of Beer closed this restaurant earlier this year at Spanish Springs Town Square. When World of Beer opened in 2015 in the former AM 640 WVLG radio studio at Spanish Springs, it marked the 30th World of Beer location in Florida. World of Beer had opened in Brownwood in 2013. However, World of Beer said in a press release that the company's bankruptcy is a result of growing market pressures, including rising interest rates, inflation, increased operating costs, and a slow return to pre-pandemic dining habits by customers. The company was founded in 2007. It's difficult to predict what will happen next for the remaining World of Beer restaurant in the Villages. When Red Lobster declared bankruptcy, the restaurant at Buffalo Ridge Plaza in the Villages hung for several months but closed its doors in July. So like I said, if you don't go, they're going to go out of business. This week we kicked off our 2024 Summer Scams series. Sunny Days and Shady Deals edition with a warning about online sales scams. You're still not falling for that, are you? Tell me you're not. It is common for online retailers to offer special deals and discounts during the summer months. This can create a flood of online traffic, and wherever money is being spent, scammers are usually there for a piece of the action. This is the modern-day pickpocket. They impersonate major brands by setting up imposter websites and trick people into sharing sensitive information. Scammers also send phishing messages containing malware, and once a target clicks the link, their information is compromised. We can create a resource to help people avoid summer shopping schemes called Scams at a Glance, E-Commerce Cons. In it, you will find the following tips. Ensure the website is legitimate and not a spoof lookalike. Never click on links and solicitations. Know that if the deal is too good to be true, it probably is. Pay with credit cards that offer additional consumer protection and avoid buying from sellers who request payment from a third-party source. You can report online shopping scams or other fraudulent activity at 1-866-9-NO-SCAM or 9-NO-SCAM. By staying vigilant, you can take advantage of summer sales securely and help us build a stronger and safer Florida. That's written by Ashley Moody. She is our Attorney General here in Florida. Okay, how about some letters to the editor? By the way, we got no holes in ones of golf this week, so let's do some letters to the editor. I'm not going to give any opinion on these. I'm just going to read them to you. I know it's kind of unusual for me. I always offer my opinion on these things. Necessarily agree or disagree with any of these, but I always like to point out the problems with the way some people think. In the description box below, you tell me what you think of any one of these letters or all of them. To the editor, I totally agree with the recent letter supporting the removal of Trump flags. I thought the rules for the villages with political signs were only allowed for 30 days before election. That's what the flags are, political signs. They certainly can't be referred to as a patriotic sign in my opinion. I have seen them all over the villages since before Republican convention and have increased since his nomination. They need to be put away until October. I have no problem with a veteran who puts up a branch flag up under the American flag. They put their life on the line for the country. But until 30 days before election, the Trump flags have to go. To the editor, this is in reference to the little white cross, I think. Isn't it sad that in our current world filled with so much turmoil that we as Christians are not able to show our faith and love of God? The power in prayer is exactly that, powerful. What saddens me even more is that there are people with nothing better to do than complain about something so innocent as the cross of Christ. Guess it's time to pray for them too. That's sent in by Jan Husak from the village of Santiago. Thank you, Jan. By the way, the letter about taking the Trump flags down was sent in by Ray Dube from Hacienda of Mission Hills. To the editor, why doesn't the villages put up some kind of material over the pools on poles to give us some shade? It's really too hot to even go to the pools. That might help a bit. That's sent in by Cheryl Sylvia from the village of Virginia Trace. Thanks, Cheryl. To the editor, to the lovely woman that thinks Hooters is trashy, when was the last time you had decent chicken wings or somewhere to watch a football game in a sports bar? The villages is totally lacking in both respects here. It is not in the villages, so you won't have to pass by all the decent old perverts as we choose to dine and watch sporting events in an out parcel building, enjoying our time as you enjoy yours. It will be located on State Road 44, and not everyone around here is over 75 years old. The food is quite good, actually, and no one will be out on the street trying to drag you in. Enjoy your day. And that's sent in by Joseph Iaconis from the village of Hadley. Leave your comments below. I can't wait to read them. Well, with that being said, that's going to be the news for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. I dedicate all my news to my members. That would be the YouTube members and or Patreon members. I really encourage you to join Patreon. One of these days, I'm going to cut a short video and I'm going to explain to you why. It's a business decision. This is a business for me. I will explain to you someday. But until then, if you can, join Patreon. It starts out at $2 a month, and it goes up from there, and you can pick any level you want. And on there, you'll get special things. I've talked about it before. You'll get access to my private Discord channel. I'll send it to you once you join, and I get confirmed of it. You'll get an invitation to our special events that we have once in a while. So with that being said, I'm just simply going to say, stay well, be informed, be aware. See you on the other side.
And don't leave your key in that golf cart.
This week's news is brought to you by my Patreon and YouTube members. Thanks, guys. You're the best.